What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a late night, logical, plausible, probable. Going to be doing a little bit of calling out of the one and only Jim Majors, because this actually all started way back, I think, in the beginning of April. It was around the time of my debate with Skylar Fiction. Anyway, Jim Majors talked some trash, did a super chat, challenged me to a debate, and then SFT, the one and only standing for truth, started setting up a debate between the two of us, and then the day came, and Jim Majors, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Majors did not show up for the debate. So sat around, waited. No Jim Majors, no Jim Majors. Even went and called him out on a stream he did the next day. He claimed he didn't know what I was talking about. Then a week or so later, on a debate he had on MDD, I did a super chat myself asking him what the heck happened. He publicly denied it. Then he and I had this whole Twitter back and forth where, again, he denied it, claimed it never happened, didn't exist. He didn't know what I was talking about. There was never any communication about a debate between myself and him. Well, I hadn't really thought about all that much for quite a while. And then I saw him talking some trash on Twitter and decided to check out some of his tweets. And when I did, I called him out on it again, just got a little jab in, to which he, again, ladies and gentlemen, he denied this ever having occurred. So just for fun, I got him to double down, triple down, quadruple down on this never having occurred. And I even told him, I'm about to show you the tweets in just a second. I even told him, hey, I'm going to give you another chance to admit that this did happen, or just admit that you're a stoner and you don't remember it, before I do a video like what was happening right this second, and prove that this actually did occur. So he actually quadrupled down on this, and so now here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's I guess it's time to show the truth of the one and only Jim Majors, and how he, well, I guess he's just pretty high. Folks. Okay, so real quick, let's get into some of the entertainment of these tweets. Let's get up to the top of where all this started. Okay, so let me make sure everybody can see this. Go full screen here. Let's get some zoom action. And so this is the tweet that started the whole deal on September 20th, so yesterday. And Jim says, a Christian seeking God is like a Where's Waldo book with all of the Waldos taken out. They will swear they see him everywhere, but they're just not willing to take the time to look. If they cared more about finding him than being right, they'd realize he was never there. So my response to that, getting a little jab in, is, it's funny you keep making claims like this after you somehow forgot about the debate on this exact subject we were supposed to have, and now you claim never exists. Maybe you just smoked too much weed to have the cognitive ability to recognize the obvious. To which he responded, still no idea what you're talking about. I don't forget about debates, and I never turn one down. But like I said, I'm more than happy to debate, and I smoke exactly the right amount of weed. Maybe you're too used to talking to a chimera, so you never said anything to me. I'm assuming by that he's referring to God. Well, I respond, bro, it was literally scheduled on Scanning for Truth. There's emails between you, SFT, yada, yada, yada. You also sent a super chat challenging me on one of my debates on MDD. I believe it was my debate with Skylar where you issued the challenge. His response, you said this last time, and guess what? Still don't recall that ever happening. Saying it again isn't going to bring you Doc Brown and a DeLorean. If you want to debate, let's make it happen. Okay, so here we go, folks. I was busy, didn't have time to respond. So he sends me this. Yeah, that's what I thought, acting like he just got me and he's talking that mad trash and he's just shutting me down. So here we go. I decided to let's toy with Jim Majors a little bit. Jim, let me get this straight. You are claiming there was never a debate between you and I set up, ever. That you never said a specific day was good for you for that debate, then refused to respond after not showing up. Is this your position? To which Jim, the mustache Majors, who claims he smokes the right amount of weed and does not have cognitive deprecation of his memory, he says, do you have short-term memory loss? And he quotes his tweet about Doc Brown and DeLorean. My response, LOL, dude, you clearly smoke too much weed. Now, before I do a video and show the evidence of you agreeing to debate me on intelligent design, I will give you one more chance to admit you are full of shit, or perhaps such a stoner you can't remember these things. His response, apparently you have an issue comprehending as well. What part of I don't recall don't you understand? If you want to debate me, then debate me. Okay, so folks, just for one moment before we proceed, he shifts over to I don't recall. But if we zoom up to the beginning of all this, he states, still no idea what you're talking about. I don't forget about debates, and I never turn one down. Okay, so now he's trying to do a little bit of a shift over to I don't recall all right. Okay. So, we now have to get into some of the entertainment, folks. Let me just switch and share a different screen here. And Jim Majors. Okay. So here is what we're about to display, folks, is the email correspondence. It's just a few of the screenshots. It's a pretty long chain, according to SFT. But let's just showcase very, very quickly. Not all. I think this was like I think SFT told me this was a 41 email chain or thread. So here we go, folks. Let's just pick one. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. And let's see if everybody can see this. Oh, I need to zoom in a little bit. Okay. Jim, my boy, when can you do an intelligent design debate or discussion with John Maddox? My name. He said he's down anytime. Lots of free time due to Corona. And here we go. Jim Majors next week. Okay, cool beans, folks. There we go. All right. Now, let's... there was more email in this whole chain here, but let's say here's another one. Okay. Actually, I can make today work if need be. SFT responds, today works better because I've got debates the next 3 days. Today is perfect. So 9 p.m. Eastern, Intelligent Design, you and John Maddox. I'll send you a link at 8:45. Okay, cool. So then also, folks, if you zoom down a little bit, there's more emails about format and discussion, things of that nature. Okay. And then there's another one. Okay, all good to go. You'll have StreamYard link in 10 minutes. There's the StreamYard link. But no Jim Majors. And Jim Majors claims that none of this ever happened. That there was never anything set up for he and I to have a debate. And it's just, I'm just making things up. And apparently he doesn't smoke too much weed to be able to have forgotten all this stuff or not have his cognitive ability be deprecated to the point where he can't actually remember debates that he had scheduled with folks, and then adamantly denies, and then will double, triple, and quadruple down on not having set up these debates. It's I find it kind of interesting, and I really do look forward to a response from Jim Majors, given the fact that he claims so adamantly this never occurred. There was never a challenge, and there was never a schedule, and that I am just making things up, and that he has full-scale memory of all of this, and this never happened, and I'm just making things up. So I don't know. I don't know what to say, folks. Got something else I'm going to unveil here in just a moment. But I would love to hear from anybody who wants to join. If you want to join the stream, I'll put the link in the live chat. I want to talk about this, because I just, at this point, I don't know what to say with these atheists, because they always claim that we're full of crap, that we make things up, that we don't pay attention to reality, that we live in a fantasy land with the magic man in the clouds and believe in the sky daddy fairy tales. However, they smoke so much weed, they can't actually remember the debates that they schedule, and then they insult the intelligence of the other individuals that were involved and claim that things never happened. So when it comes to Jim Majors, what I'm very concerned about is somehow this guy is currently a PhD candidate. He's working on his PhD. He supposedly is some kind of expert in biblical studies. He understands scripture and all these things to debunk it. But he can't even remember things from 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it is now, and a 41 email chain that was used to set all this stuff up. So, just some entertainment that I've been having today, and thought I would unveil to everyone. And then also, I'm going to do a more formal video on this probably tomorrow. However, for those of you who appreciate all of y'all who came to watch some of this madness late in the evening, I have been, and drum roll please, drum roll, out of nowhere, I have been offered the opportunity to debate the one and only maverick of the new atheist movement, Matt, the Artful Dodger Dillahunty. So tentatively, either on the 7th of October or the 9th of October, it's tentative, I will be taking on Matt Dillahunty one-on-one, heads up, on Modern Day Debate. And yeah, so we will be debating the existence of God, and that's the tentative. All details being worked out at the moment, times finalized and such, but that is the tentative subject. So it's kind of ironic for me. It's Matt Dillahunty is actually the reason that I got involved in this whole YouTube apologetics world, and as a result of my interaction I had with him on the Atheist Experience, and he pissed me off so much that I began to dive into this world, learn more about it. Ended up having my first debate with RJ Downard, and then the rest is history. And that's amazing. I've joked that this last several months kind of been in the old meat yard, doing those, working your way up the ranks in the boxing world, and now getting to head into the heavyweight class and see if we can have my first title fight, if you will, of going after the one and only Matt Dillahunty. So it should be interesting. Definitely have to be doing some prep to take him on. I'm one of those folks that I don't like to go into these things without expectations of victory. And I think at this point, one of the big problems with some of the debates I've seen with him recently from folks is people are pulling their punches. They're not forcing him to actually answer questions. He just dances around. That's why I call him the artful dodger. And it's my objective to put him against the ropes and force him to actually be forced to answer the questions, and hopefully we'll see what happens. So in that line, I'm not going up against him by any stretch of the imagination with gigantic ego. I know he's a real challenge, and somebody will have to apply significant mental fortitude, concentration, focus, and effort and preparation to defeat. And so in line with that, as most of y'all know this, but because of all this COVID stuff, I had to shut my business down. Well, actually got shut down for me. And I've been working my tail off to hopefully not have to, well, it's a long story and all that stuff. However, in line with all this, I've been working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and really need some time to focus on this Matt Dillahunty debate. So in line with that, so I'm going to put this out in much more detail tomorrow, but I have put together a very quick GoFundMe account. I'm hoping to be able to take a couple days off from work and be able to focus full scale on preparation to take on good old Matt Dillahunty, and number one, give everybody a show to remember, and it not be a lightweight versus heavyweight. And obviously, in this context, me being a lightweight, got to go up a few weight classes as I prepare for Dillahunty. So I'd really appreciate if any of y'all could bounce on over to GoFundMe, drop me a few bucks, and I'm already kind of mapping out how I'm going to spend my time. Obviously, I'll be training, if you will, whether or not I'm able to actually take time off work over this next couple of weeks. But my objective would be to take 3 or 4 days off and be able to focus exclusively on preparation for the mental combat with good old Matt Dillahunty, and give him full scale brain power, and at the same time I should be able to get some sleep. Man, I've not been getting enough sleep, and it's affecting my cognitive ability. So if y'all could help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. How is a link not linkable in my own? That's weird. Okay, let's try this again. I can't link my own in my own chat. That is weird. Let's try this again. Let's try this. All right, there we go. Okay. Just try it again. There we go. Anyway, so greatly appreciate y'all if anybody would be willing to help me out on that. And hopefully we can give old Dillahunty what for, and give no quarter. As it's ironic, I was watching I guess he and Godless Engineer co-hosted The Line a couple weeks ago, and I was listening to the two of them, and I'm just like, wow, the level of outdated arguments these two are putting out it's almost laughable at this point. I mean, the overall atheist experience, I mean, they just completely dismiss any arguments. They refuse to comprehend or even consider the logic, the evidence, the expansion of the different positions that are taken by people that call in. And let's be honest, there's a lot of folks calling to his show that don't really know what they're talking about. They're coming at it from a very, his definition of faith-based arguments. Well, it's just in the Bible. That's why I believe it. The irony for me now is, the more you go down the rabbit holes, the easier it is to reach reasonable confidence in the fact that God exists. And then from there, you can begin to extrapolate out and determine whether or not the Christian God, the Muslim God, which God is correct. And I find it very interesting how the atheists, especially those like a Matt Dillahunty, continue to double down on these same positions. It's kind of ironic. I wonder if Jim Majors and his double downs on Twitter, I wonder if he's a disciple of Matt Dillahunty, because that would actually explain why he continues to claim we never had a debate when there was obviously a debate, and he somehow doesn't remember it. So, I wonder if it's the same thing with so Stupid Horror. Actually, YouTube was let's put this up here. So Stupid Horror Energy, yeah, YouTube wasn't allowing me to post a shortened URL, but then when I did the full scale URL, it allowed me. So actually, I didn't lose my wrench. It just wasn't allowing me to do so. You can't use shortened URLs even as a channel owner. So I don't know what to say. Yep, highest paid atheist on YouTube. I guess we'll see what comes of all this stupid horror. I find it funny I'm being insulted by that name. It's funny, but hey, Stupid Horror Energy, maybe you should back my GoFundMe account and give me an opportunity to focus more of my brain power on the highest paid atheist on YouTube and see if well, Stupid Horror Energy, then I apologize. If you weren't talking about me, then I apologize for my insults. I thought they were directed at me in the in this context. My bad. It's my channel. I thought you were talking about me, and I was bitching about not being able to get my my link to post. Anyway, so enough about all of that madness. I would love it if anybody would head over to Jim Major's channel or on Twitter and ask him if he has actually forgotten about the debate. I think it would be funny. I think it would be very entertaining to see his responses to all of you folks now that he has been called out and evidence has been showcased that he is full of crap. And actually, you know what? I don't want to accuse Jim too much of necessarily being a shill. He's probably just high. I mean, it's obvious in some of his debates. You can tell he's baked out of his gourd. I mean, he publicly proclaims how much he loves to smoke, and even claims, while denying the evidence I just showed, claims that he smokes the perfect amount. So, I'm wondering if, just like Skylar Fiction, he's never actually gone and looked at any of the studies on the deprecation of cognitive utility and executive function and memory and a variety of other negative impacts to those who smoke. And it's very ironic how it actually deprecates their cognitive ability if they're, habitual users, to the point that the only way they can actually have any level of slightly higher function is if they are high. However, it's still lower than what they would be if they weren't high. So it makes them think that when they get high, that they're actually functioning. Oh man, I just feel so much smarter when I'm high. It's like, no, dude, you've dumbed yourself down so much that yes, when you smoke, it does increase your cognitive function just a little bit, but you are still below where you would be if you were not stoned. This has been studied. This has been quantified. This has been measured. This is a fact. But hey, just keep going, buddy. Just keep going. Jim Majors. It's gonna be funny, when assuming, the way that PhDs are handed out in today's academia, there's a very strong probability that at some point in the too distant future, Jim the mustache, I'm baked out of my gourd, Majors will have a PhD. And then, ladies and gentlemen, people will take Jim Majors so seriously because he has that PhD after his name. They won't even be paying attention to the extraordinarily high probability that he is baked out of his mind while taking on a position of supposed authority purely because of PhD after his name, when the arguments don't have to be cognizant, they don't have to be cogent, they don't have to be coherent, they can just be flowery, and therefore they must be true because a PhD said them. But enough of all of my diatribes. What is going on in the chat right now? It seems that there is a little bit of trash talking going down. Not sure what has happened in what has happened. Welcome, Slammer. I haven't seen you in a while. How about a stoned idiot? Looks like Stupid Whore Energy, Mark. Who all is having a what's going on? There's like some oh, Sunflower. I didn't know you weren't a mod in my channel. All right. Well, Slam, thanks. Oh, George, thanks for, and Chris, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. If anybody wants to, I'm going to wrap this up here in a few minutes. If anybody wants to join the stream, comment about this, that, or the other thing, feel free to bounce in. There is a link for the to join the stream is in live chat now. And who is this guy? So we've got Maestro Billionaire. This is all an effing joke. When you're dead, nothing more. The power is turned off. Well, you know, it's interesting that this stuff kind of, you know, talking points get spewed. You know, I really wonder if the atheist idiots who like buy into string theory, for example. And it's like, so string theory, there's potentially 11. Chill, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome to my late night random stream. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. I didn't even get a notification. I just was watching the news and I saw you had a stream going live, and I don't even know or care what you're talking about. So I figured I'd show up.
Yeah, I've been having this goes back to like April. There's this dude named Jim Majors who challenged me to a debate in a super chat in one of my other debates. Then Standing for Truth was coordinating setting it up. Then it got set up. Then he didn't show. And then now, fast forward to this day, is still denying that it ever existed.
And so someone got gypped out of a super chat fund, huh?
No, none of that. Just he's been talking trash. I've called him out on this multiple times, and he's been categorically denying that there was ever a debate scheduled. And I got him to quadruple down today on Twitter that it never happened.
And right, but you're saying someone paid for the super chat, though, right?
Well, no. The super chat was just him challenging me to a debate. It was all scheduled up by Standing for Truth, and anyway,
yeah.
Today I called him, or actually a couple days ago I called him out. He finally responded, and then today I got him to quadruple down on Twitter that there was never a debate ever. He had zero recognition of this. This never occurred, and I even gave him a chance to admit that he was either stoned or lying about there never being one. Otherwise, I was going to do a video like this. And I started this whole thing off literally showing screenshots of the email chain with him scheduling the debate.
Oh, that's horrible.
So got some entertainment. And then out of the blue, I think I was talking about, I'm going to do a more formal announcement of this tomorrow, but out of the blue, I was asked to debate Matt Dillahunty on the 7th, either the 7th or the 9th of October.
That's what I was going to ask. Where did that come out of? How did that come about?
I got
Not right now. You don't go into it. That's fine.
no. I got
Turn my TV down.
out of the blue. James emailed me and asked if I wanted to if I was open to debate Matt Dillahunty.
Did he have something scheduled or something, or is he just looking for somebody to? Because I know they're having not a hard time getting a lot of evolutionists on there, but I know they're not having any trouble.
Isn't he that frothing at the mouth type atheist, religious fanatic type guy? I haven't watched too much of him.
Matt Dillahunty. Oh yeah, he's one of the most probably prominent on right now. What you say, logical?
Yeah, I mean, he's like the
new Richard Dawkins, maybe.
Yeah, of the new atheists.
The new atheist, true.
He's their current he's their current it guy. Like he's debated Jordan Peterson and Dinesh D'Souza and a bunch
of
those
go.
Hey, you have to ask.
I have to
floor with him.
I'm going to go find those later.
His followers will show up in droves for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, his last debate over on Modern Day Debate, there was like almost 3,000 people watched it live.
You
mean his church, right, Chris? Following.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said he's really similar to when Dawkins. If you remember, like 10 years ago, they would he'd say something, they'd really jump up and praise like you were in church or something. It was weird.
I was just trying to be silly, but
I mean that's not that's nothing. What John's talking about, he's got to be serious about taking him on because he's really good at sleight of hand. You know what I mean? Is he a magic? Doesn't he practice magic and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, he was a semi-professional magician, and he's a mentalist. Like his entire shtick is, I don't know, you don't know either. Yeah. You can't prove it, and I don't know, and you don't know. Therefore, nobody can know.
Personal ingenuity, it's called.
But he's got a lot of things. I mean, a lot of sayings patented. He's got put down. Like if you don't catch it while he's doing it, you can in a debate. You can miss it. Like when he debated Mike Winger, he's like, evidence or claims are evidence, but he didn't. That was a claim. You know what I mean? But Mike didn't catch it right, and you know what I mean. So he kind of beat him rhetorically, but I mean, that's how he wins a lot of his debates.
He's a fancy version of Tom Jones. So, is there a synopsis? What was the debate like with
Tom Wishes?
Jordan Peterson?
So they did kind of like a sit down discussion back and forth in fancy chairs, Jordan Peterson, for the most part, in my opinion, annihilated him.
What were they talking about?
I mean, they went back and they talked about a bunch of different things, but they got into, life, existence of life and different things like that. And it was kind of funny. In that debate, Dillahunty tried to equate life to chess, and that I forget exactly how he phrased it. I have to look it up again because it just pissed me off so bad when I watched it. He was basically trying to say that we're pieces on the board, but we don't know what the rules are. And it's like, yeah, dude, but and the board doesn't require a designer basically to exist. And it's like, what are you talking about, you idiot? Like,
so he's literally the pigeon on the chessboard, kicking the pieces off, saying he won.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. And then he tried to make the same kind of claim about like artificial intelligence. And because Peterson actually called him out on that. Like, I've spoken, he's like, I'm in conversations with some of my friends that are into the artificial intelligence stuff. Like getting into that whole aspect of the rules, logic, and determinism versus non-determinism, computation, that kind of stuff. And the
stuff that I do.
Yeah. And Dillahunty just tried to dismiss it. I don't think he understood it. But the irony is that Dillahunty actually, when he left the Navy, I don't know how long, but he was supposedly in computer software design, whatever that means. So I'm like, okay, him just like the godless engineer who also is a programmer. They categorically deny that it's anything other than chemical reactions. There is no code, there is no programming, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, well, as you and I have discussed quite a bit, it's like, really? How do you not see this? Are you
They roll their face across the keyboard, and that's how they.
What blows my mind, I mentioned the non-deterministic computation stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of this, Joel. You probably find some of this interesting. The papers out the wazoo being written on the exact premise in relation to DNA. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, folks. This is, I'm not making this stuff up. Like, your ignorance of it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It isn't being directly questioned and studied.
Right. I was getting paid to do projects to reverse engineer DNA code type stuff into artificial intelligence 15 years ago. I have no idea what some of the stuff. By the way, I was wanted to just make a quick comment that I feel kind of dirty. I need some sort of intellectual shower. I'm working on a big data postgrad certificate right now. Yesterday I did my first live Twitter. We're gonna call it data scrub. We at my school project we did a thing where we had to pull analytics off of Twitter.
Okay,
it was disgusting.
Well, I can only imagine.
Something as benign as we were faking like we were doing a fictitious business that was going to come up with this new BMX 9000 whatever bicycle, right? So we had to do some market research through Twitter, and just looking up the tag BMX, something as innocent and benign as that was just horrible. Anyway, I just want to say.
Well, that is the irony of what Twitter and social media in general, especially Twitter, has become. You're right. I mean, you can find and the irony too is like anytime a hashtag begins to trend, there's the robots that take advantage of it and start posting random crap. There's zero relevance to the actual hashtag, but they get away with it for a while, I guess, till the filters kick in. But
yeah, the one fascinating thing about it was that there were some Twitter feeds or users, whatever you call them, they had literally millions of followers. I have no idea how that happens, especially, well, I do have an idea, but still, that was the only fascinating part of it.
Okay, say that the last part again. You found what?
That there's Twitter people out there that have millions of followers.
Oh yeah.
That surprised me.
Yeah, the entire industry of the influencer marketplace it's very interesting. What's happening with that and Instagram, and I think the influencer world is definitely growing dramatically more on Instagram than Twitter, but it's still there. Still definitely
well, and there's just a ton of tools out there. That's what we were playing with that measure all this stuff, these things that are in progress or things where they calculate how many people talk about you, how many things you talk about other people. It's just the analytics is just crazy how much.
Now, were y'all's project directly through the Twitter API, or were you guys doing a scrape?
Both. We were using a Excel API called Node XL that does connect directly to Twitter. So there's some Twitter facing and a few other things, but we'll get more into it later. But just last week was my first. I've done other AI stuff, but that was my first time to do a live feed straight off of social media. Usually I do something for some sort of actual scientific type project, but social media, yeah.
Talk about totally random data.
Yeah, it's not scientific. Yeah.
How do I create anything coherent out of this?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I went ahead and bookmarked your GoFundMe page. Is there somewhere else that you're going to post that other than this chat, so we'll be people can get to it?
I will.
Like maybe your homepage, or you're gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a tomorrow. I'm gonna do a like a pitch video for it.
Yeah, good. So we can send somebody there, other people if I need to.
And I'll put all that.
And what I know you may have mentioned it. I apologize if I missed it at the first. What was the debate topic again?
Tentatively, it's does God exist?
Does God exist? Okay. Besides the help it on the GoFundMe, is there anything that you need from anybody that could help you out?
Yeah. I mean, if ideas on arguments.
Is this like an official, formal type debate?
Yeah,
I mean, I might look at some other debates. You know what I mean? And maybe if I can
yeah.
find
Well,
something.
that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing. Is I'm going to do either
That's
way.
what I'm saying. Maybe
I'm
help you
planning
on.
on watching a bunch of them and then just kind of figuring out his like most common go-to arguments,
Right.
rebuttals to common positions and such. Yeah. This Joel. So this will be over on the Modern Day Debate channel, and be me and him mano a mano on
You and Matt, or who?
yeah, me and Matt Dillahunty. Yep.
Okay, I'd like to see links to that. I have not watched that yet, but when someone asks about the God debate, John Lennox is my favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. John Lennox is a fantastic one. We'd say Dillahunty, like his last one on MDD, there was almost 3,000 people watching live. It was a monster. It was a monster.
Which is
debate.
probably at least like maybe what you 10 times what's normally on there, if not more.
Yeah. I mean, most of the debates on MDD are range between 300 and 500.
Yeah. So
and yeah, I got up to 3,000.
I gotta use the ice gel.
Yeah, it'll definitely. I'm not kidding when I say it will be stepping into the heavyweight league. It's not no more of the fluff. I'll be going up against a real challenge.
Yeah, no amateur league. You're in the top 10 right there in the fighters.
Yeah, it'll definitely
Sounds cool.
Definitely be a challenge for sure. He's a character. However, the irony of ironies, and part of what really pissed me off about his chess analogy with Jordan Peterson was that I have watched Matt Dillahunty play chess, and he sucks.
Yeah, I remember.
Isn't it too bad you can't set up? You make them do a game of chess. That would be so great.
Oh man, he's so bad. He's so bad.
Maybe you can slip it in there somehow.
It's painful to watch.
So I'm curious. The GoFundMe page you're talking about, Chris, is that to raise funds for something specific, or just like
that's to help John be able to take the time off to prepare, because it's going to take a lot of preparation. That's a pretty big debate. A lot of people be watching, and I'm definitely going to support him. I'd recommend other people support what they can.
So you got to take time off. Wow, how's your employer?
Well, I mean,
I'm self-employed, so I can take time off if I want to, but it's still
that's me. I have to pay somebody to come relieve me if I want to take time off. So,
so I actually had a business, and it got KO'd by the city due to COVID. So I've been, let's just say, I burned a lot of money trying to keep going. So I've got another income stream that I'm working on now, but it's nothing such as it was, and hopefully when this madness goes away, I will be able to rekindle everything. But in the meantime, I've been working my ass off. I also was my house. I was Airbnb-ing it, and I had to refund about $20,000. That sucked. And so let's just say a whole bunch of random crap that was not very. I went from sitting rather pretty to not. Let's just say in a very short period of time. So
I understand.
Work ass off, and so anyway, but in context of the Matt Dillahunty thing, that's why I'm asking for the help. When I want to be able to take 3 or 4 days and as many as can, and just apply all of my brain power to it rather than having to bounce around. And
maybe you could do something private like before it, like with some of us. You know what I mean? We can just maybe come in and throw some stuff at you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. I'm planning actually on doing that, having a couple of
mock debates,
private mock debates and stuff. Yeah,
yes, sir. Yeah. That would be probably smart. Maybe not me per se, but some.
Well, the irony is a lot of his most common arguments, at least that I've seen, are like his counters are very weak. A lot of them, but a lot of the people he's gone up against recently. And I don't mean as much on the philosophy side as more on the evidence-based side.
Oh, yes, I was going to say he's going to somehow pivot from wherever he's at to evidence, and then try to put a burden of evidence on you. So be ready for that for sure.
Oh well, he definitely will. But my point is, when he denies or just tries to dismiss the evidence in a lot of his recent debates, his opponents have not fired back. They haven't countered his counter.
Yeah.
And
Mike mentioned that, and he was like, he go watch his review of his debate with him, and that's a really good review.
Mike, which Mike?
Winger.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Watch his review, because Mike does a review of his debate with Matt, and he admits that he got beat, basically rhetorically, because and then he points out where he was wrong, what he should have done. So that'll help a little bit, maybe. Somebody else mentioned that in the chat, and they mentioned somebody else. They said Mike Winger and Vadi Bachman. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Okay.
I don't know if I've heard of him or not.
I will Google that. Yeah.
I think one of Mike Winger. That'll definitely help you there if you can have time to watch that one.
Yeah, I think a portion of Dillahunty too really stems from he's used to dismiss, especially on his channel. Like he just dismisses the arguments. Hangs up on people. I mean, for me, as an example, right? Part of it's why I say this whole challenge for me is so ironic. Like I kid you not when I say the literal, not the figurative, the literal reason that
triggered because he just
we are now having this conversation is that he put me in timeout on
you personally,
and then he hung up on me while refusing to actually let me finish a sentence, and then claiming that I didn't know what I was talking about. And I was just living in fantasy land. And it's like, Matt Dillahunty, you have yourself to thank for me being here, which is part of the reason I want to prepare and be ready to annihilate him, because I plan on putting that sentence in my opening statement. It should be fun.
You're saying he motivated you to create this channel, in other words, or part of the motivation?
100%. Like he can claim. I will apply 95% of the reason this channel exists to a phone call on a Sunday afternoon to Matt Dillahunty on the Atheist Experience, and the rest is history of us having this conversation right now. He can claim full responsibility for the annihilation of other atheists that I've done.
To our benefit, I've enjoyed your channel for like the last 2 weeks that I've
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, so it's kind of weird for me actually. I was thinking about this earlier today. Like,
I'm wondering how he's going to cut.
My channel started on February 4th of this year, and fast forward to now, and I will be taking on Matt Dillahunty in a live debate. Like, that's rather serendipitous. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying, Chris?
I just can't. I've seen a few of his debates. I can't recall anybody really hitting him hard on intelligent design, especially from the like abiogenesis. You know what I mean? That I can think of.
No. I mean, with like Ray Comfort was. Well, Ray Comfort was cracking me up. Matt, when was the last time you looked at pornography?
Yeah, that's gonna work with Matt.
That was cracking me up. And then who are the father and son duo that just took him on recently?
Father and son.
They were pretty. I mean, they were aggressive with him, but not. They were just letting him dance around as usual with all the philosophical stuff, and just let him deny and make everything subjective. And it's
that's what I was going to offer, by the way. That my experience when you're dealing with somebody trying to debate or argue somebody that their only position is pure all personal incredulity, that they don't want to understand anything, so therefore you have to be wrong. One thing you can do is, if you continue the debate, is to appeal to the audience, because you can't. Yeah, because that's closed-mindedness. You can't argue with somebody that needs you to be wrong, no matter what.
Well, and that's part of. I mean, I've said this publicly, in debates and on other streams of. I mean, a large portion of what I do now, and talking about in the debates, is purely for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you're 100% correct. I mean, the T Jumps, the Dillahunties, the RJ Downards, Jackson Wheat, Erica, all of them, they operate. You're not going to change their mind. Like they are 100%.
Oh no.
They're all in on their position, and
Married to their religion.
they're married. Yeah, exactly. And there will be no divorce. Yeah, there will not be irreconcilable differences between any of them and Darwin and materialistic naturalism. It's methodological naturalism. There is no break point in.
And now, is this going to be God in general, or the Christian God?
God in general.
Okay, well that gives you more room to work on.
Yeah, I'm not going to go after with the Christian guy with him.
Because he's just going to because he's pretty. That's his wheelhouse and going against Christianity.
Well, and to me, to be honest, I don't understand why there aren't more forceful arguments in relation to the existence of God, in general. Because I'm like,
to me, in the past.
Huh?
There are scientists. That's all they used to talk about 50 to 100 years ago is all the evidence for God.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm talking about in the modern era. It's
what I'm saying. So nowadays, once you get out of academia and you get into the real world of science, there's no atheists. We're all theists, and it takes. I kind of tease. It takes about 2 months to a year, in general, to kind of deprogram new college grads, because once you get into the real world of science and professional world, you get that kind of squeezed out of you, and we just kind of hide and shield ourselves from, so to say, from the crazy outside world. That's why. I mean, the arguments are still there.
True, but
they're more definitive than they were in the past, but we just don't like to go out there anymore. I think people like me are extremely rare.
Well, no, I would agree with that completely. And I would say there's also the flip side of that, of the quote unquote scientists who stay in academia don't necessarily get it squeezed out.
Well, and that's where I'll say,
or maybe not to the extent that you're talking about.
Scientists, they're working on stuff 20 plus years old, and they're just trying to keep they're not doing a science job, in other words.
True. No, I agree with you in terms of like practical application of of science. Yeah, it was pretty funny. A member of my family, I won't name his name, but a member of my family, very, very, very high level chemist, and
brother, right?
He got at a very, very, very invitation only, like retreat for chemists. He got pulled aside by a big name in industry and basically told him, like, stop wasting your time. This summer, let me pay you to come to IBM and show you what you could be potentially doing with your brain, basically.
Wow.
And of course, because of who this guy was, my family member who had been he and I, let me put it this way, this particular family member of mine and I did not get along. I thought he was a complete tool and did not like it, right? And because he was such a academic jackass, I despised him. Anyway, he sees all this, ends up being like, what the heck am I doing in academia? Basically. Yeah. Had this like wake up moment, and now he's off doing his thing in industry, doing all this cool stuff. But and now like he and I actually have good conversations. We talk about business and technology, all this kind of stuff. We actually get along and like each other now, right? And it's the irony of ironies, And maybe just using him as an example of what you're talking about. Like, yeah, once they get extracted from that world, then things take on an entirely different paradigm.
Yep. What's a Voodoo video?
I think it's one of the Cocoa Puffer. Yes, if you could post that link, I'd appreciate it. Voodoo, I believe, is somebody that they were talking about earlier who took on Matt Dillahunty.
I watched the mirror debate of you and Smokey and against Rib and I forgot the other guy, Michael,
the Canadian atheist.
Yeah, Canadian atheist. And I watched that, and you guys. Well, I think it was Smokey. I think maybe you started with Smokey pinned them on the evidence, what they would accept, and then they changed it.
Oh yeah.
Well, we kept getting them on.
Oh, you all had like 3 or 4 times.
Well, we kept getting them on whether or not the only thing they would accept as evidence was empirical, and I started off with, okay, so if I handed you a painting but 5 different people said that, or 5 people said they knew who the painter was, but nobody could prove who the painter was. Would you still conclude that there was a painter to create the painting? And well, yeah, but we know paintings require a painter. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Well, at one point, Michael,
and then Smokey just annihilated him with the. So you couldn't be. You wouldn't be a good juror for a rape case now, would you?
And then that's when he was like, Rib was like, yeah, I could accept my, what's the word? Well, he could accept his claim as evidence if it was his personal claim, but that would be it. So, but still, that would be your claim.
Man,
so
I tell you what,
it's not empirical. So
I still haven't gotten over the fact that those two wanted to debate us 3 different times, and then Rib took on Smokey by himself a 4th time. Like I don't understand it. I literally made Rib cry in our 3rd debate.
Yeah, I was there. I was part of that super chat when he cried right there. Yeah, it was. I hate to. Yeah, well, no, I ain't gonna say I hate. It was good times.
Man, and stupid horror energy using the standard atheist talking point. Paintings don't self-replicate.
Well, neither does DNA.
It's that much harder. It's that much harder when you insert self-replication into the equation. Right. That makes it's more probable that the painting could create itself.
Well, replication is an entirely just upper level thing of technology by itself. So DNA doesn't self-replicate. It was designed to do that specifically. It's a whole other paradigm or level of technology. It's even more advanced than just DNA by itself.
Well, at one point they conceded that okay, well, what if it could be this god or that god? Well, they conceded that they were theists because they said that it could be any god. Then, that's when you should have said. Then you're a theist. And welcome to theism. What you should have said. At that point.
That's the next level debate, right?
And then you go into which god. You know what I mean? But John did say that, but they didn't get it. Went over their head.
Yeah, evolution has nothing to do with self-replication. The idea that the code was designed that way is the evidence that.
It's such strong evidence, though. I mean, say that you won't accept it because it's not empirical. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Right? Because on the strictly evolutionary framework, it had not been self-replicatable somewhere in its beginning. So that somehow, if it just randomly became self-replicated, then so can a painting.
Yeah, we could find a painting and not necessarily know who painted the painting. You know what I mean? Well, you couldn't prove that it came into existence on its own.
How would if something as fascinatingly,
empirically,
super stupid, complicated as DNA, as complex as that, can all of a sudden somehow down the road become self-replicating technology, then so can the Mona Lisa if it just sits in the museum by itself forever. It's the same mechanism. The natural whatever thing could have happened, whether it's a painting or DNA code. It's just the whole thing is ridiculous to me. I'm sorry.
Chemical bonds to the painting to the
everything is a chemical bond. Everything, including the socks that we're all wearing.
Well, it's funny. I made the exact point on literally everything has a chemical bond, and I'm just like, what is your point?
Yeah, right.
What is your point?
I guess DNA's got magical chemical bonds. Is the point? Right?
It's like it's hydrogen, and like, what is your point? I mean, what really gets me too is like okay, cool, folks. There's a hydrogen bond between each of the nucleotides. Okay. You're acting like this has significance in the organization of the structure.
The bonds have no bearing on the base pairs and how they pair up. None.
Right. Information, right? It's a difference. There's the physical substrate, and then there's
nothing. To describe the information.
Well, a sidebar, Joel. The whole self-replication argument. One of the things that really cracks me up about that is, okay, so let's say, well, I could find one on GitHub in like 10 seconds. You could probably write one in no time at all. You could write a batch script to run a daily backup.
Right.
You're putting it in a folder somewhere on a server. It's being copied, right? Like the
Operating system with pre-designed commands to do that, right?
well, of course there is. But where I'm going with all this is like, even if you assume somehow that the operating system and all the structure and all the logic rules and everything else somehow came into existence,
The computer just pooped stuff out, right?
let's just assume that happened. Do you think that there is a non-insane programmer on this planet who would argue that running a daily backup script would, if you just let it run for 1 billion years, that somehow it would turn app A into app B?
No, not in 5 trillion forever infinity amount of years. Because not only is it just making a backup, the mitosis process, it also has built-in artificial intelligent self-correction and all kinds of auto-correction subroutines built into it as well.
Well, of course it does. Now, but let's just go back to the software, right? So now let's say that there's random radiation that's injected into the copying of the backup. I'm talking about the software, right? So there are errors that occur during the backup. Okay. Do you think is a remotely plausible conclusion that even accounting for the undirected random copying errors caused by radiation and disruption of the copying process, do you think it is remotely plausible that app A could turn into app B?
No.
Do you think
be corrupted?
Do you think that there is any situation where the backup would not ultimately lose functional capacity due to data corruption rather than gain?
Never. We wish.
Would you say that the logic being outlined right now is directly applicable to the genetics argument?
Yes.
Well, at that level, they don't have natural selection either at that level. So,
natural selection is
God. They're God of natural selection at that level.
Right.
Wait,
here's a level of cognition.
Go ahead, John.
Here's another thing that really irritates the fire out of me, which is the arguments about the errors in the copying. Right? I'm talking about in genetics, and like, if a designer actually had created all of this, there wouldn't be any copying errors. And it's like, okay. Yep. So let's think about this argument logically for 1 second. Pre-solid state, if you just had, let's say we're limited to just magnetic hard drives, right?
Vacuum tubes.
Well, we'll go from the radiation perspective. Let's go magnetic. Okay. So pretty much every computer with a magnetic hard drive has got shielding surrounding it to protect it from the Earth's magnetic field and other magnetic fields, correct?
Not every of them, but for the sake of argument.
Okay. So it also protects it from heat and other things. Okay. So the point where I'm going with all this is, man, the copying, the fidelity of copying on your laptop, for example, is just so much better than DNA. Okay. All right. Let's think about this in terms of it's wetware versus hardware, right? If you took said laptop, threw it in a pool of water, do you think it's remotely plausible that there would not be significant, if not 100%, error in attempting to copy data while the laptop is in the water?
Attempting to, yes. I mean, your hard drive might survive getting wet, and if you dried it out properly. But
you're trying to copy it. You're trying to copy data that's on the hard drive.
Yeah, it's going to short circuit, and unless you hardened the laptop, hardened it with some sort of enamel type, protective covering on the circuitry, it'll fry.
Okay, now let's say you take all the shielding off, and you stick a gigantic magnet next to that laptop.
Mm-hmm. We used to do that back in the 90s, if you recall.
Is the data going to be corrupted?
It's going to be destroyed.
Okay. Now with the shielding, with the shielding, it might survive.
Depends.
Maybe.
Magnets are pretty powerful.
Maybe, but
you know what I'm talking about? Back in the 80s and 90s, they used to sell these actual electromagnetic things you plug into your wall, and you flip it on. You can literally hear the magnet burn to wipe old floppy drives and hard drives.
Yeah, I remember that, and some people used to put them in their doorways or something like that. I heard, but that might be a legend. But
now let's say you take all the shielding off and you go stick said computer out in 110-degree weather, direct sunlight, leave it there for hours, and just have it keep trying to copy. I'm going to say there's probably going to be some error. at some point.
Yeah.
So
but not good errors, not what do you even call it?
Right.
Supposition with DNA. It's not going to improve.
Now let's take the same logic in the same scenario, and let's say we're smashing said computer over and over again into solid objects while trying to process information, copy, etc.
Throw it into wood chipper, maybe.
Well, I mean, do that. I'm saying you just keep banging against a wall, for example, right?
Okay.
We're probably gonna have errors that are going to be occurring, right? Just from all sorts of different reasons. The point where I'm going with all of this is when you actually think about what's happening in your body, you have wet wear, you have slamming, you have force, you have heat variances, you have magnetic fields, you have all sorts of different types of radiation, and somehow the error correction and the overall copying errors are minuscule in spite of all of these additional variables that I'm talking about, which outside of very, very rare or like massively hardened and specifically customized computer technology, our system, our man-made systems trying to copy information and process and do functions would just immediately collapse, or in a very, very short period of time would collapse. Now let's put this back in the context of biological systems. Not only are these errors very rare, the system lasts for 70, 80, 90, 100 years before it finally kicks the can.
Well, because don't forget, even if when there are mistakes or errors in the code, as you talk about, and it starts to cause problems and the cells start to basically or literally eat themselves, get cancer or some other disease, there's other systems pre-built, pre-designed specifically to combat that as well, to seek out and destroy cancer cells, to try to root out different poisons and toxins. There's all kinds of self-preservation type mechanical, technological robots, literally other AIs in our bodies trying to fight all of those problems.
You know what's really hard for them to explain is cell death, the program of cell death.
Yes, the words
that is
specifically right.
Not giving enough attention. Yeah,
it's where it's done on purpose, right? I call that a self-destruct mechanism. When a cell is trying to fight, trying to survive, and trying to keep the code from being corrupted from all kinds of, like John's mentioning, all kinds of different external variables. When the cell can no longer preserve itself, it will signal, hey, I need to self-destruct. And if it can't, it'll send external signals to other cells, including the autoimmune system. Hey, please come kill me quick so I don't further corrupt the rest of the system.
Exactly.
Well, there's not only there's variables, there's also additional times in development where it's done on purpose. Like, oh, wait, we needed this one to build X. Now we don't need it anymore. Destruct. Hey, we're just going to... And here's the irony, too, and the point you're making there on the destruction. It's... from the human perspective, it's like, oh my goodness, there's like this, it's like a bomb going off. Yeah, well, you also remember that there's recycling factors that get implemented in this. Like, you literally go and recycle the resources and take the good stuff, flush the bad, and then go use what's left. The good things are left over to go rebuild a new function. Like,
evolution's clever, man.
Well, that's one of the things that I've always just blown my mind. When I started learning about the recycling. The recycle functions, I'm like, you're kidding me, right? You're telling me that anybody with half a brain thinks that recycling machines on the nano level somehow built themselves? Like, you get out of town, man. Like, talk about like, you have to know the end desired outcome. If you're literally taking something apart that already has a function, you take it apart because you don't need that function anymore right now and go build something else with it. Like, how, without pre-programming, do you possibly know that the existing built tool needs to be taken apart? Like, you don't know this. Like, how would you know this? It has to be pre-programmed.
It requires design. It's the exact opposite of random.
All right, there's so many aspects of the foresight, foreknowledge requirement that we're talking about right now, but it's just, to me, they're so mind-bending when you really think about the sheer number of them. It's like, I don't care how many.
Hard to remember it all, right? It's so complicated.
There is hope. Thankfully, there are some scientists that recognize it is a code, and like the Royal Society.
That offends me, Chris. not you specifically, but that statement. All scientists recognize DNA as a code. If you don't, you're not a scientist.
I mentioned this earlier than that. Yeah, like you were attesting this. I've heard this from. Actually, I heard it. Dr. Was it Haynes or Hayes that you interviewed? Logical.
I interviewed Dr. Stadler. SFT interviewed Dr. Hayes.
Okay, excuse me. I apologize. SFT did Hayes. But like you were saying that, like, you know, in when you guys get alone or you're talking together, like they're not all atheists. A lot of them are theists, or some might be agnostic or whatever, you know. So, but they want to believe that all scientists are atheists. That's what they, you know, or that's what they put forth.
It's the opposite.
And
well, when you really go down the proverbial rabbit holes, and that's why I love to say use the line of atheism is nothing but the willful suspension of rational thought.
Yes,
because
it's literally proving a negative.
Yes, and I mean, like, if you're ignorant of the evidence, then okay. If you are not ignorant of the evidence, then you are consciously refusing to use your brain. I mean,
and that's why they refuse.
Well, that's why they did. That's why in your debate with them, with Rib and them, they didn't want to allow you to use. They took it to imperialism because they did not want you to be able to allow logical and plausible evidence, you know, from the cellular level that it's designed. And that would be evidence of a designer. Okay, it's pretty easy. I'm sure a 10-year-old could get it, maybe even a 5-year-old.
Yeah, the designs of life are too miraculous to assume that they happen randomly. Not only would we expect to be able to see it almost everywhere, at least in at least one other place other than life, but the fact that we have to, or we're trying to reverse engineer what God has already done in his engineering world for life to be able to enhance our own engineering, that alone speaks volumes. So if you can't recognize that much, then you're anti-scientific in my mind.
Yeah, it's really becoming just keep your mouth shut and have fun in your fantasy land. Let the adults talk. It's kind of where it's coming to for me. A lot of these folks, like, let's have grown up conversations about what is, and ultimately to the atheists, it's like, okay, if you look at all the evidence with an open mind and, you know, modicum of IQ, and you still reach the conclusion that there is absolutely no even remotely plausible conclusion that an intelligent agent was required for you to exist, then I don't know what world you live in. I mean, especially now with all the technology. And Joel, Chris, we've all talked about this, you know, multiple times. I've hammered this point over and over again. It has taken the development of human technology to such a degree for us to even realize the complexity and the level of technology that makes life possible. Like, we didn't even have the ability to even know that it was there, let alone even know what it did, until relatively recently. And now we're discovering that, holy crap, this stuff absolutely eviscerates the best that we've come up with.
You reminded me the argument that if Darwin had known that living organisms are not transferring their genetic information through a sponge effect through cork, Darwin would not be an evolutionist today.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this really goes back to goes to the point of the brainwashing of modern society. I mean,
religion. Sorry,
because when you think about Watson and Crick, they even Crick put forth the frozen accident hypothesis for the genetic code. Like, this is so, to him, it was like, oh man, this is so unlikely. This must be just a 1 in a bazillion probability. But somehow this happened. Like, he put forth that premise because he recognized the significance of it. and so many others have recognized the significance of it, and they've even admitted the significance of it, and yet still cling to. There's somehow something that we have not yet explained or discovered, which will allow for the explanation of it from a naturalistic perspective or a naturalism perspective.
Well, even Dawkins eventually conceded like maybe aliens did it. You know what I mean? He had to, But what cracks me up is they got like atheist churches now. You know what I mean? They're literally you can Google atheist church near me, and there'll be one.
Dude, have you seen any of the videos of like an atheist church service?
Yes, I have.
Oh my god, it's too good. You cannot make this up. They're singing songs. And the preacher, like you're literally singing songs and praying to Mother Nature. Like,
they've been doing that forever. It's not a recent thing. I also like to highlight news articles that talk. So the President Obama, under his administration, the IRS literally won several court issues because they were being sued in court because Obama's IRS was granting atheist church organizations and clergy automatic tax exemption status because they had ruled that since there are official, formal, organized religions around the world that do not require the belief in God, that atheism is therefore a religion. So they started granting all these atheist organizations out there that would register some sort of like a nonprofit type thing, whatever. They would get a religious tax exemption status. So these atheist organizations would then sue the IRS, and we're not a religious organization. They would lose in federal court. So our own justice system rules that the atheism is a religion.
Interesting.
Yeah. Of course, I get in trouble for bringing that up, but oh well.
Well, actually, yeah, it's pretty funny you say that. It was like 4 or 5 months ago. Oxford Dictionary actually changed the definition of atheist to basically give them cover on that exact point. So, like, literally, for hundreds of years leading up to about 4 months ago, maybe 5, it was considered this. And then Oxford changed it. I'm like, I wonder how much pressure was being put on them by all of the the online atheists of just like begging and pressuring them to
suing them. Yeah.
Put it on, like,
Webster
change it to
the Webster, Merriam-Webster, what it's called. They still list atheism as a quote unquote religious position still. So,
well, that's awesome.
I think the ACLU defended the atheist church too. So
they should.
Well, I mean, of course you would think they would, but I mean.
Well, and like John's pointing out, I mean, just in these debates here, even in social media, they demonstrate it. They have a religious, fervent attitude towards their dogma. And if you disagree with them, they won't try to really argue or explain anything to the contrary. They just say you're wrong. And most oftentimes, like with the poor otangelo, they just censor you. They just kick you out of their old church group.
Yeah. Actually, did y'all see the video from Matt Dillahunty of all people, who he has otangelo as his #1 most hated?
No, I know he called in a few times, but no, I didn't see that.
Yep, otangelo is officially the most hated YouTuber.
Nice.
Like,
boy, he's the nicest guy, but man, he gets blocked from a lot of these places. That just tells you he's hitting them with questions they don't want to answer.
That's because otangelo annihilates.
I know. He's so soft spoken.
And what's so funny, listening to him when he calls in, these idiots have no idea the level of just utter annihilation is going down on their own channels, and how dumb they actually are compared to otangelo. Their level of ignorance is so hysterical. And he's like, well, did you know that blah blah blah? And he does an exposition, and they're like, no, otangelo, you just don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand how this actually works. I'm listening to him talking. I'm like, I have to focus when otangelo is giving these arguments, because he's got even more knowledge than I do, and is going to go. He has 15 additional layers beyond the stuff that I know, and you got to pay attention to what he's talking about. And Like they don't even have a clue. It's so
If you could take your personality or maybe Smokey's personality and mix that with otangelo, you'd have a pretty good debater right there.
true. Yeah. Smokey cracks me up, man. He really does.
Yeah.
He eviscerates them. It's
he's quick at spotting when they trap themselves. He's very, very witty.
well, not
hear
too
more
much.
from
No,
him.
we don't want Smokey to get too egotistical.
Yeah, I don't
There is
struggle too much.
he's starting to have problems getting out his front
Yeah.
door to go get his burritos. Okay,
Yeah.
don't.
He's doing cooking videos now. I mean,
I know that's what I'm saying. Like, smoke home videos with Smokey. I mean, come on now, we got to.
And I have to admit, man, he had me in there cooking pancakes last night.
Dude.
No, I'm messing with Smokey right now, but you're absolutely correct.
I am too.
He does put him down, but the irony though is that they do it to themselves.
Yeah,
It's so funny. Like just the level of like you literally just gave me this. Like are you kidding
Well,
me?
I don't know that they can help it. I think a lot of especially what I've heard with atheists over the years, it's apologetics. It's pre-programmed. It's a script, and they repeat themselves religiously, identically for so much content, and so often. I mean, I tease. It's literally like atheists all go to the same church. So when you go off that script, when you go off their apologetics that they're kind of indoctrinated into, they just give up.
well, they'll attack you
right
if they can.
Either involve in ad hominem or kick you out or both. The excommunicate.
or cut your call off like Matt does. Yeah.
So I keep hearing all these positive things about Smokey, and I'd love to hear more about his content because him and I kind of got off to a bad foot about the whole Jesus praying to himself thing that one night. But other than that,
well, I mean, just like the fact. I mean, like with issues, like if it's, I don't know, that might have been a different issue. I just because like me and him don't agree on the age of the earth. If it's a non salvation issue, I don't argue with brethren over it. But if it, I think y'all just got off the wrong foot. I'll listen to you guys. I think it was just a little bit of, if you guys would have maybe had a different, could have restarted the conversation.
Yeah. I think you got offended about the young earth thing, and I didn't
I think he felt like he'd been ambushed that night, so he was just, so.
And thank you, by the way, for that Mark guy that was getting annoying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, somebody got a tool wrench in there. It's probably okay to go ahead and give him 300 seconds to take a break or something.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about Smokey. Seems like a good guy.
Yeah, Smokey is a good dude. He's I mean, that was a 2 a.m. and there was also a bunch of other stuff going on behind the scenes that I think had Smokey a little bit more emotionally.
Yeah, and some stuff happened about the week before that.
I think he viewed, like, I don't think he knew that you were relatively new to all this arena, and some of the other trash talkers that had been going after him. I think he was just kind of like throwing you into that, like, here's another one kind of thing, and he responded a little bit more forcefully than you guys kind of got into. I think is what happened. So
yeah, it's forgivable, and we can bury that hatchet.
Yeah, I bet you all will at some point soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm so curious what his thing is. Then it sounds like he's got like another unique kind of take to these debates.
Oh yeah. Smokey he's legit, especially now. Smokey, and he'll say this. I mean, he's much more on the philosophy and the theology side, and I mean, he annihilates him. It's brutal.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually want to see Smokey take on Dillahunty as well.
Yeah, because if he would get him off. He would get him off his script.
For sure. Oh, yeah. Smokey and Dillahunty in terms of like a pure philosophy. Man, that would be an epic.
That would.
I would pay to watch that one.
I would.
Matt Dillahunty would not know how to deal with Smokey Saints. I'll tell you that, because he's so used to dealing with the Ray Comforts of the world. And also, like, these super nice Christian guys are just it's so funny. Smokey talks about Ray Comfort. Smokey loves Ray Comfort. Smokey, Smokey and I were talking one time on a stream, and he's like, man, Ray Comfort, you just have to love him. He is like one of the nicest, just sweetest men on the planet. Just like he's just so nice. And Smokey is over there talking about how great Ray Comfort is, right? He just loves Ray Comfort, thinks he's awesome. Smokey, when it comes, is like the antithesis of Ray Comfort. I'm not in terms of being a good friend, love and all that stuff, but in terms of like dealing with atheists,
being gentle. He's not gentle.
The antithesis of it, like just utter like, and also Smokey used to be an atheist,
Right.
and he recognizes the crap basically.
That's awesome. Yeah.
He's kind of makes it his mission. He's made it his mission to like annihilate. It's one of the things I've tried to relay to a lot of the, shall we say, more sensitive Christians on YouTube that like get quasi offended by Smokey's aggression, and I'm like, don't go in front of the bull.
You bring down the banhammer, right?
You freaking idiots! Like you guys are arguing with Smokey over some of the stupidest little minutia, and then wondering why he like goes off on you. Like Smokey has like this. Once you've pissed him off, it's full bore like annihilation.
You'll get the insult. So I always say this: you have to, even though if you get the insult, you have to let him finish because he will get to a point. You know what I mean? Like it or not, he will get to a point that makes sense.
Absolutely will. And it's like, and that's why I've emailed to different folks. I'm like, just if you got a problem with what he said, like do something in private, send him an email, like all private stream, discuss this stuff. Don't come after him publicly because he's going to annihilate you, and then you're going to be butthurt, and then you're going to retaliate, and then it's going to escalate into this little like back and forth pissing contest, which is what had happened right before, like literally the day before your interaction with him.
Yeah.
It was like this whole, and there was like this whole behind the scenes crap going down, and like it was ridiculous.
It was.
And that's what I was telling, like, just don't.
He does an open mic usually like once a week, like on like Saturday or Sunday. You just probably enjoy his open mic and just he's very like if you go in there sensible, he's not. I mean he won't hold a grudge if you're being, you know what I mean. If you're coming in there being honest and saying, hey, this is where I'm coming from. I understand where you're coming from, and just hash it out. I don't think you have a problem.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he denied, he denied being a Mormon, which was great. So he seems like he understands. Him and I would agree on the same doctrine, and just maybe he hasn't thought some of the more difficult, what do you call it, philosophy of the beliefs out. And since he's such a philosophy guy, and I'm not, by the way. Never just caveat out there. I am very weak on philosophical stuff. That someone will easily bomb me on that. But since he's so strong in it, I would love to hear him think that through. The logic of positions.
Well, here's what you need to do. You just need to go over there on an open mic night and be like, Smokey, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
And,
Without killing each other. Yeah. So this is causing me to ask, is there like a website, and if not, can we talk about creating one where we share all of these, all of you, it seems like there's a community going on here on YouTube, all these conversations, all these channels.
Do you know how to ring the bell on the subscription channels? Like
I do.
Okay. That's the best way to do it, is just ring the bell.
Wait, you're talking, Joel, you're talking about like creating an aggregator basically, right?
An aggregator?
Creating an aggregation website for like all the different
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of share each other's information where we can find all these wonderful people together.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I've thought about doing something similar to that. There's some, just like anything else, like different people have blog posts about like, oh, here's some of the top 20, that kind of stuff. I agree with you. I think that something like that does need to be expanded upon.
That would be cool too, so that people aren't streaming at the exact same time. You know what I mean?
Trust me, I've been thinking about that. The scheduling portion of it. I was thinking about that earlier tonight. I was like message SFT live. I'm like, dude, how long is this video you're premiering so I can like move? I literally, because I was originally going to do this at 10:15. And they pushed it back 30 minutes because he's like, yeah, okay, our video will be over at 11:45 your Eastern or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool.
He did promote you though in there.
I know he did. He told me he was. No, but I messaged him and I was like, hey man, when's your? I didn't want to start mine while his
Right.
premiere was going on. It's like, hey, what time's your video gonna get over? And he told me. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I pushed back the start time of this one, this stream to account for that. But yeah, I agree with you completely. There needs to be much more coordination in.
It'd be nice because I was like watching that, and then I didn't want to miss yours for sure. So I was like, I had my phone, I got my PC. It's like, come on, I don't want to miss. I got one earphone in, one earphone in the other one. I'm learning to multitask.
well, that Mark guy is back.
Did I put him? Okay, I just tried to put him in timeout again. He might go through. Let's see.
It's all right as long as you don't spam, dude. You know, no chat's gonna allow spamming, man.
He's just being a weirdo.
Spamming's almost will get you booted for the night. If I was a moderator,
Okay, all right, he's back in timeout.
I very rarely ever even time someone out. Not remove a comment, but I don't.
Can you remove? Yeah, sorry.
You can block them, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Somebody's a moderator.
Yeah.
But generally, you want to ask the person, who's. Generally, it should already be understood. But if you're a moderator, that what's your person who you're moderating for, what they want. Some people like Smokey, and I know John. They don't really want you to silence anyone unless they're just being an obvious troll like this dude is right here.
Right.
Well, some of the idiots, I don't mind. Just.
But if they're making points, if they're just spamming, that's 6, 7, 8 comments in a row here. It's spamming.
Yeah, people that are making arguments we disagree with, I don't have a problem with. It's when they're being like Mark, just being an idiot.
Yeah, he's a good example of what we're talking about. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. Now you got me excited. August 7th, October 7th.
Tentatively, either that or the 9th.
The 9th, either one.
I think James is like finalizing getting the confirmation of the time and such, but.
With the Matt Dillahunty guy?
Yep.
And has he agreed and all that? Or is that still?
Well, I guess they were finalizing I think they were like finalizing the time between the two of them, and while deciding whether or not I was going to accept the challenge.
Cool.
So,
Well, props to you for stepping up, man. That is a big step up, and
well, I danced around for a minute, like, man, am I gonna have enough time to
exactly
go after this?
You're
like,
working, and yeah, I understand, man.
Finally, I'm like, you know what, gotta
take the challenge.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. So my first debate on MDD was against RJ.
Yeah,
and after that, James asked me, like, what do you want to do eventually in this whole deal? And I said, at some point, I want to take on Matt Dillahunty. And that's kind of funny. Like the other day when he emailed me, like, do you want to take on Matt Dillahunty? I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's destiny, man. It's destiny. I'm telling you, it's destiny. You're going to be the one that does it, man. You're going to be the one that embarrasses him. I feel it.
I thought he's already embarrassed.
Well, I mean, I want to see him just annihilated, to be honest with you.
Oh man,
Peterson, quote unquote,
he's crafty though. He's crafty. He can redirect the debate and pivot and back to his world. But
yeah, he's no
beginner.
Well, here's this is the John Gleason, Godless Engineer, and Matt Dillahunty taking on Otangelo.
Otangelo will tear him apart in his video.
Well, they hung up on him.
I know that, but I'm saying when Otangelo does his, he was sniping.
Otangelo, but I think it's Otangelo from Brazil. How you doing, Otangelo? You're on with John and Matt.
Oh, it's a honor, Matt. Yes, it's me, Otangelo. How are you guys?
Otangelo,
how are you, John?
Otangelo,
can't even get
Otangelo, why would you start this with a lie? You've been banned from other shows that I do. Why would you start by saying it's an honor? It's not an honor to talk to me.
Well, I think it is because you are a great exponent of atheism, and you have a big public and a fan club and so on. So, of course, talking to you is an honor for me because it gives me exposure as well.
Okay. What would you like to discuss today?
Is it reasonable, Matt, that machines and factories emerge randomly and without guidance?
What?
How are you defining machine and factory?
Oh my gosh. Kindergarten.
Well, you don't know what the machine and the factory is. They produce things.
No, stop. Otangelo, stop. The word machine has a number of different usages, not the least of which is that a simple lever is in fact a machine. So a stick with some sort of fulcrum is a machine. A factory could be what we normally think of. Like if you looked at the cover of Pink Floyd's Animals album, you would see factories there, spewing, filth into the air as we manufacture things. However, a cell within the body could also be viewed as analogous to a factory. I'm trying to figure out what you're actually asking. That's all.
You already did. You already answered the question.
A cell in the body is analogous to a human-made factory, but it is as well a factory in a literal sense. It is a chemical factory which produces its basic building blocks like amino acids, lipids, phospholipids, carbohydrates, and so on. And then from there on, it uses the genetic code to make the molecular machines, and then in the end, a self-replicating factory or a self-replicating cell.
You can't
wait. My point here, Otangelo, is that a cell or the genetic analogous factory is something that occurs naturally, whereas the factory that human beings built out of bricks and metal, human beings built out of is not natural. I'm sorry. If you keep interrupting me, nobody's going to fucking hear you. If you keep fucking Otangelo, if you keep interrupting me, not only am I not going to hear you, but nobody's going to hear you. Let me finish my sentence, and then I will let you speak again.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Cells occur naturally. They're not manufactured by thinking agents. Factories. Oh my God! Goodbye. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it at all. Go bite yourself. I don't care. This is the reason Otangelo is no longer welcome on any of the shows that I do. But I was willing to give him a chance here, and it was just like, let me finish one sentence, and I will let you talk. And he can't even do that.
Well, for anybody that might not know this particular argument, he was trying to bring up the idea that a creator is needed for complex things to appear in the natural world. But the thing that I normally go to for that particular argument is that we have natural explanations for these things. And so therefore, we don't need a supernatural one. I have yet to find anybody to provide me with a supernatural explanation that better explains a process or evidence than a natural explanation. And natural explanations will always supersede supernatural ones. So it really is kind of a moot path to go down.
At least until somebody can demonstrate that A, the supernatural is real, and B, that you can detect it and identify it when the supernatural interacts with reality. The second somebody can do that, all of a sudden, that's when we can propose supernatural explanations. But if we just don't currently have a natural explanation, that doesn't mean people can just say, it must be supernatural. So having on the word, you might as well be saying, it must be gremlins. Well, hang on a second. You haven't proven that gremlins exist. I don't need to. There's no other explanation. It must be gremlins. And okay, well, just don't feed them after midnight or whatever it is.
Now, wait a second. We've got 2 movies about gremlins. So
total self-contradictions.
Yeah, well, he had to silence them. Even if people do that, and they're talking, they'll talk a little bit over each other, but it wouldn't have mattered. He would have found a way to cut him off. He's what he does.
Yeah, I think Otangelo did make that mistake. They were both chomping at the bit. I mean, Matt was stepping on him a bunch too, but so was Otangelo. So.
Yep. That's how I saw it.
And I think that in those situations, I think people like Matt, they're going to do that anyways. So Otangelo just kind of accelerated the process, so to say.
I think Otangelo was trying to just get what he could get in because I think he knew he was going to get cut probably.
Yeah. Well, I think a portion of it too with I agree with you completely. Yes, Otangelo is so much smarter than Matt Dillahunty. It's not even funny, and knowledgeable. But the other portion of it is I think Dillahunty is smart enough to recognize that if he actually lets not even the entire argument, like a quarter of the argument and the point actually be done without interruption, then he will look like an idiot.
Right.
For trying to counter it.
Yeah, that's when he had to just stop him and be like, okay, let's define machine and factory. Oh, come on, man. Do we really need to go there?
Because I've noticed that's a trend with him. Like time somebody calls in that is actually creating or presenting a coherent argument, then he wants to define
semantics.
It comes to semantics game, and
you got to stop that.
Define this one little dinky point. It's like, are you too stupid to understand the overall context here? Like, you run around acting like you're operating from this high level of intellectual insight, Dillahunty.
It's worse.
But you can't comprehend the overall argument being made. So, which are you? Are you smart or are you an idiot? Which one?
Yeah, no, it's worse than that. He self-contradicted himself. He first pretends to ask the question, trying to allude to the idea that the DNA or the life cycles are not machinery, but then he goes and admits that they're at least analogous to machinery. So that's the whole point of saying something's like something. It's analogous. So he's already self-refuting himself. He's trying to think of something, I guess, to argue against what he already confirmed Otangelo's starting premise. So therefore, he couldn't talk about what Otangelo wanted to ask about. So then it just turned into that what we saw. And hello, by the way, Doki Doki.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Doki Doki Bible Club, always out and about. I don't think Doki Doki. I think Doki Doki may be actually a club, and there's multiple users, and you never know who is actually the user because
but no, it's not. It's not. I agree with you.
Because Doki Doki is like always on. It doesn't matter if it's a stream. Because SFT and Matt lately, those guys are killing me. So I've been getting up at like. I've had some work to do. Like, I've been waking up like 4:30, 4 a.m. I'll wake up and those idiots will be starting the stream. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And they go over there, I start watching it, and there's Doki Doki. Like, okay. So they were watching the stream, over on, somebody else's channel at, 9 o'clock in the evening. And now it's 5 a.m. and they're on SFT's channel. Like, I mean, I don't know if they've got like some like god powder they're snorting or what, but it's something's keeping them awake. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you guys are addicting. Like I've said, I've only been starting to watch y'all's little circle here, the little community for 2-3 weeks. And I got schoolwork to do, darn it. So it's hard.
It's hard. It's truth, man. When you recognize truth and you find it, you're drawn to it, man. If you're of the truth. That's my philosophy. I think many of us have talked about before. It's just dang near impossible to find people that aren't just reasonable, but want to have their biases challenged. Or want to have a debate. That's so rare these days. It's refreshing.
Well, and by the way, Joel's sidebar. I think people they like you, but I think audiences are starting to really like your wife. Because I've noticed this actually. There's always been somebody been like, because usually your wife at some point in the evening, as the dumber people's conversation gets, she comes over and like eviscerates people, like jumps in the front of the mic, and you people are morons. Let me explain to you why you're a dumbass, and then
she does it in a nice way too,
and let you go back to and then goes back to whatever she was doing before, and. Occasional zinger from the side channel, and then like zooms over, snatches that mic, and it's like, says whatever, and then does a mic drop, and it
just ends it right there, right? The whole thing. You're like, next debate. Yeah, see, her and I, we met in a online politics lobby chat room in Yahoo.
Yes.
What, 20,000 years ago or so now?
About 15.
And she's always been like that too. The other chatters in the rooms and stuff like that, they'd always be, I'm not going to say her name, but they'd always be like, let's get my wife to come out, get her to come out, because she would be like that. You were a lurker, and you're still like that today. You like to just kind of be quiet and keep your thing, but you're absolutely brilliant. So when you actually do get upset enough or whatever, where you just don't want to tolerate the like John's saying, the crap anymore, you get there and you say it like it is. Yeah. Anyway, so. We need more people.
And you have been deemed Mrs. Joel by Doki Bible Club, and they love you.
Hey, it's fine. When I say the better half, that's literally the case. She is literally the smartest person I've ever met. She'll deny it, which just makes her smarter. But yeah.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. The very fascinating study I read one time on the average IQ comparison of male to female. And it's very interesting that the average female is smarter than the average male. Now, there's more outliers on both sides. Like an exponentially greater number of male geniuses than female, but overall women are smarter than men. And then there's way more complete dumbass men than women. And it really put things into context for me. I'm like, okay, this explains so much. Number one, I remember I was looking at the data. I'm like, so there's a lot of dudes that literally are dumb as a rock. And when you wonder, we've all had that friend, right? Like, how did you do this? Like, this is so dumb. Like, I don't understand how you could possibly have gone down all of these different steps to end up in this position. Like, this is just dumb. Like, now there's bad decisions, right? But then there's just things that are just dumb, outright dumb. And I remember looking at the data. I'm like, wow. So this is what God meant by creating the better half of in terms of women. Like, guys are going to be so stupid at some point that literally need the smarter woman to help protect us from being complete idiots.
You know what I think it is? I think it is like a lot of times the men want to go in here and they got to validate to themselves that they're smart. The women, they know they're smart. They don't need to get on here and validate it.
Well, it's funny in context of the where feminism has gone to. I got into a whole argument one time over the point I'm making right now. I'm like, I am literally. They were claiming the point I just made was misogynistic and all that stuff. And I'm like, I am literally stating that women are smarter than men in almost every context, except for outliers. And somehow I am not stating that women are special. I don't understand how you could possibly come to this conclusion. Like, this is just idiotic. And I may have said something effective to the woman that was having this debate with me.
Somebody
may have said something like, you are acting like the typical male.
No.
And in terms of, like, I wonder if you have the IQ of an average male or something like that. But
somebody accused SFT of being a misogynist. I was like, where would you get that from, man? I mean, what has he ever said that would lead anyone to believe that?
All it is just a great big button that they slam their palm on whenever somebody disagrees with them, like calling somebody racist because you don't agree with some Democrat policy or something. You know what I mean? It's dumb.
It's a baseless insult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I may be actually, speaking of that, I'm currently debating with myself whether or not I'm going to take on this debate on Thursday of the whole Ruth Bader Ginsburg replacement. Should the person challenge me to basically, should Trump appoint a new one under the Biden rule or because of the Biden rule? And
yeah,
I'm like, yes, he should, and go for it. And at this point, for me, it's like, okay, so the reason anybody know why we have 9 justices on the Supreme Court? Oh, yeah. FDR stacking the court. Oh, wait.
Well, he threatened to stack the court. Overruled.
Yeah. Well, and then fast forward to now, the Democrats, just the other day, we're talking about if Trump appoints a justice after they win, they're going to stack the court. It's like you're literally making the argument that makes people worried about what you're going to do. You're publicly stating you're going to do what people are worried that you might do, and then you're arguing that we shouldn't take steps to try and prevent you from doing that. Like, I don't know what universe y'all live in where that makes any sense, other than doing full scale attempted projection of your own
tyranny.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to work some kind of deal out where they don't have to. They can wait till after the election.
My wife wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to address the prior point. I don't know what studies you were looking at, but just from my own very anecdotal observations, I find that there's a lot of idiotic females as well, darling. I mean a lot.
That's misogynist, Kelly.
Well, there are, but I've also recognized that there are a lot of women who, in public, actually put on a idiot facade.
Mm-hmm.
I actually dated one in college. It drove me up the wall. She was smart as a whip, and we'd be out and about, and she would be acting like a dumb blonde. And I finally called her out on it one time, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, you act like a complete idiot. It's like you switch off your brain when we go out and do stuff." Oh yeah, well, I just don't want people to take me too seriously, you know. And just,
I had the same experience.
I'm like, what are you talking about? This is why. Why would you want people to think you're an idiot? I don't understand this.
Because they lower their expectations. My ex-girlfriend told me
He's intimidating the men, maybe. Yeah.
no, they just don't want to have people. They don't want other people to give them high expectations, so they just kind of dumb themselves down.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which is brilliant. You know, they want to be left alone, and it works. But it's like it's annoying. Like, dude, you know.
Well, there's that, and the point you're making, Chris, is also true.
Right.
So a lot of them do, especially in the dating scene. They actually do because they think that some men will like not want to talk to them because they're smart.
And it's true.
And I'm like, yeah, well, if you're dating the dude that's dumb as a rock, then of course you get intimidated by the smart woman if you can even comprehend that you're smart. But then on the flip side, the guys that are relatively smart, their ego oftentimes gets kicks in of like, is she smarter than me? It's like, okay, dude, if you don't have enough self-confidence, then just go away. Like, go find a dumb, an idiot, and have him tell you what you want. Don't ever have a challenge. Like, that's one of the things that always has driven me up the wall in the aspect of dating. Of like, I am cool with the intellectual challenge. Like, I'm down for it. Let's go. Let's rock and roll and do this. And I can't imagine, especially from like a long-term relationship perspective, like, why would you not want somebody to be able to stimulate you intellectually?
Exactly.
That's I like big brains, and I cannot lie. I just can't freaking help it.
And she said something earlier that also just made me fall in love with her again. She doesn't dumb herself down, as we were talking about. She just stays quiet.
That's right.
So which sometimes I wish I could emulate that.
It's more than just for any other purpose other than I kind of want to get a feel for the people that I'm interacting with, and so I'll stay quiet. Well, no, it's not about that. That's too confrontational. It's knowing. Oh, who you're dealing with? Yeah, I want to know who I'm dealing with. Kind of get a feel for how they work and what have you, and then I decide at that point whether or not I want to go ahead and put my foot in the fray, so to speak.
So what she's really saying is like a typical female assassin, she's deciding whether or not it's going to be a dagger or poison.
Without inflicting any harm on anyone, of course.
Apparently, I've done really well. They'll let me survive these past 10, 20 years we've been together now. I forget.
Well, the fact that you don't know if it's been 10 or 20 years. That is being checkboxed in her brain right now.
Yes.
I'm like, the next time he acts like an idiot, I'm going to have this little tidbit of, Joel, you didn't even know how long we've been together.
Yeah,
I don't remember either, so he's safe.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair.
I get to live. It's great.
Yeah. I'm terrible about birthdays and anniversaries.
But she can remember someone else's phone number from 30 years ago, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or social security numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's my computer.
Well, Honest Angel made a good point. If feminists are all about equality, I agree. If a woman can't carry a 300-pound man out of a burning building, she shouldn't be a firefighter.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you. Agreed.
She can't carry a 90-pound combat load. She shouldn't be a soldier. No offense.
Right.
One of the funniest. I've actually done this little experiment with at least 3 different girlfriends over the years, of the whole argument of like, babe, you literally do not understand the dramatic difference in physicality that I would employ with a woman versus a man. And like, we hold ourselves back, right? Like, even if you're like messing around and stuff, like, we're not applying the same level of strength that we would if we were like in the middle of a like altercation with a dude, right? And oh no, it's not. And of course they get all pissed off about it. And I'm like, okay, tell you what, go to the other side of the room, run at me full speed. I will stand here and you will not move me. And like, all of them. I'm like, okay. And 3 of the 4 hurt themselves running into me full speed. And 6'1", 200 pounds, doesn't matter your height, you're 120, 130 pounds, you're going to literally bounce off me. Like, you don't have enough mass to move me. I wonder if she hurt her shoulder so bad. I felt bad, actually. I kind of popped her shoulder when she ran into full speed. And I'm like, I don't. Okay, so have we now established that I literally was standing still and you hurt yourself?
No.
What
Imagine-
if I was coming at you at the same speed and you were trying to stop me? Like, what's going to happen? I'm literally going to level you, and it's
Yeah, they'll just lose, especially like in combat. Something I was reading some of the recent stuff about the Marines experiment with trying to equalize female and male soldiers, and it floored me that what I learned recently. They used to have a minimum standard of 3 pull-ups. Now they have what they call, and I forget exactly the name, something about a hanging pull-up test where they just have to literally sit, just hang off or hang down the pull-up bar.
You have to do the straight arm dead hang.
Oh, I've got a funny story about that, man. When I was a kid, I had a PE teacher that was huge, man. He was like 6'6", just this big dude, man. And I was real athletic, and I was doing pull-ups, doing a bunch of them. I did more than anybody, and I was kind of making fun of the girls. And he's like, he asked me to do that. He pulled up there and said, "I want you to hang." And I got up there and hang, and your different muscles, when you're up there hanging, and man, I was up there like 2 seconds, and I had to come down, man, and I got embarrassed.
Well, and the dead hang, it's all forearms, and you straight arm dead hang. Now, if you're being able to like pull up and like use your engage lats and delts and stuff, it's a little bit different story. But if you're doing a straight arm dead hang, the gigantic force goes directly into your forearm, and what people don't realize is that the vast majority of the training we do builds the fast fibers, and like endurance muscle fibers are literally structured differently than power muscle fibers. So if you're not training for endurance, it doesn't matter how much you can curl, how much you can bench, deadlift, it has zero bearing. Your muscle strength like fades super quick.
Yeah,
so it's actually pretty funny. I've actually done some little side entertainment for myself of like betting people on this before. The like the giant muscle bound dudes that are like jacked to the nines ain't got a prayer at any level of dead hang. Like they are toast because they're they got so much muscle. It's like, congratulations, bro, you weigh 250 pounds. Good. You're literally jamming 250 pounds into one of your smallest muscle groups. Do you actually think you're gonna be able to hold that? Oh, and by the way, all that muscle fiber you built, those giant muscles, you did it from doing power moves, not endurance. Totally different dynamic.
And I'm sure women have the same problem because they have the same lack of long-term muscle build. But the larger caveat or the bigger point, it's doing any physical task, as a comparison for some sort of like physical endurance test, whatever, is irrelevant unless it's based on something tangible. For example, pull-ups. We don't do pull-ups in the military just to show off, like someone at a gym might do. We do it to be able to pull ourselves up over a wall or something to save your life. If you're being shot at and you need to get behind a barrier. So if a woman is in combat and she's running to, try to get under cover and there's a barrier in place, she's not going to live if she can't pull herself above the barrier. I mean, how long do you think you can hang there for?
Well, not only that, you have to be able to reach up high enough to pull yourself up.
Yeah, you got to jump. There's all kinds of. Yeah, it's for a purpose,
It's different training because like when I was talking about that, the girls were trained like 2 weeks, and he had them training doing that, and we were just doing our pull ups. So they had all trained and we'd been doing that, you know what I mean? And I did it at all. So when I got up there, I was just like, no time. I was like giving out.
Do you not have a dog named Sarge? Brady asks.
Well, it's one of those things too of the dramatic difference in like muscle mass, like starting muscle mass. Like legs, it's about 2/3 different, like 2/3 equal. Women have about 2/3 the same muscle mass as men, lower body, but it's about 1/3 upper body. So when you think about that, it's like put it in context. The current female bench press world record is like 601 pounds, I think it is, which is nuts in of itself. But the male is like just over 1,000 pounds. Some dude deadlifted 1,000 pounds. Like, think about that. That is insane.
Yeah.
Like, you benched 1,000 pounds. That's more than the deadlift.
Weight, probably, yeah. It's
nuts. But but it's much closer on the squats. Like it's like, we'll go figure. There's like a much, I forget the exact numbers, but like it's much closer with squats because like, hey, it's much greater amount of starting muscle mass to work with.
Right.
And
It's more condition. Right.
upper body versus lower body, right?
Properly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that some woman benched 601 pounds is still mind blowing. That's still nuts. Like, good Lord, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah, about
better than I ever. It's 3 times. So my prime when I was young and I was active duty, I think my max bench I ever did 10 reps was 285. But I could leg press more than 7. The max the machine would do was 700 pounds. I could do that with no problem. You know, well, with some problem, but still, the point was my legs were much more developed or whatever than my arms ever. My
larger
chest.
muscle group. Yeah.
Right.
well, I mean, 280 doing, I mean, a 10 set with 285. That's not. I mean, that's legit. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you were you like one max, like what 350?
What do you mean 350? What's that?
Max one time.
Oh, my max?
rep.
Oh, I don't even know. We seldom. If I did, yeah, it was in the 300s, but it was not. Yeah, not something we normally would do. So I don't know. I'd be lucky to do half that today, I think.
I used to be big into working out. What was crazy is I built, like some people, I guess you got natural, you can build certain muscles easier, but I didn't even have to do a lot of heavy benching. I just do a lot of like free weight and like, flies and whatnot. And I could build a huge chest. And my buddy, he was strong and he had bigger shoulders. He could bench press more than me, but I could always build a bigger chest. And so it's not necessarily always how much you can lift on that. And when you're bodybuilding, it's the genetics and also the way you do the with free weights, you know what I mean? If you're isolate that muscle isolation.
Well, a lot of that stuff too, like once you build you can build the size, but if you just go into maintenance mode, you actually lose overall strength. Like you might be able to you can maintain the size, but you're not actually maintaining the same level of strength.
Right. There's
for sure.
Endurance, right? Yeah, because in the military we don't train for strength necessarily, or certainly not size. Our PT test, it's push-ups. You're lifting your own body weight, but can you do it 60 to 200 times in under 2 minutes? That's the test. It's endurance.
Yeah, that's what they're all about in the military. They want endurance. Yeah, they don't care if you can do it 3 or 4 times. They want to be able to do it 30, 40 times.
What I find interesting about all this is when you kind of bring it back around to the overall conversation of life, existence, and such. When you
life, universe, and everything.
To me, when you really contemplate, we've shifted over to discuss working out, building muscles, and all that kind of stuff, strength. But when you really think about the potential variability that is existence, like to me, that in and of itself indicates the designer. Like,
that's a designer. You're right.
One of the things that atheists spew all the time that just pisses me off, and I'm like, how dumb are you? Well, is they claim that we are not that special. I'm talking about humans. And I'm like, okay, let's think about this for just a second. Let's look at sports as an example. You've got people have the ability to be extraordinary at baseball, basketball, football, fencing, skiing, ice hockey, skating in general, tennis, ping pong, whatever it might be, right? And the level of variable customization, if you will, of those capacities is to the extreme. Then you get into, the world's strongest man competitions, all those other things, like the level of difference between the hyper nerd that's hanging out in a lab somewhere who weighs, $135 and, has a hard time pulling his pants up versus, the 6'8" Swedish dude, literally named Thor, who won the world's strongest man deal. He literally moves thousands of pounds by himself.
Wife's over here doing a little victory dance because she's part Swede.
Man.
It's like the level of difference between the two. And it's like you're telling me that doesn't indicate tremendous capacity.
And you would think if it was an evolutionary thing, we'd be more homogenous. We'd be more whatever, similar.
Right, and then you flip it over to the surgeon who's being able to use their hands and their minds and their eyes with such precision that they're being able to like do these things on the microscopic level. And the anyway, you follow my logic here. You flip all these different potentials, and it's like, yeah, we can all have different. I can do sort of that, or I could potentially do this, but then this person is just like amazing at it and has capacities greater than anybody else, right? Like. I was a hardcore basketball player growing up. Like the shooting ability of Steph Curry, for example, is nuts. And when you think about and this goes back to I talked about this before, but the cognitive ability and the processing that is going on in the subconscious to shoot a basketball on the fly, falling at an angle, you're in a different distance. You're not the exact distance of the exact force ever. Anytime you shoot, you can be close, but never the exact. And then to be able to make those adjustments from a distance and then send the signals to exert the appropriate amount of force, the appropriate angle to put a ball in a freaking hole from who knows what distance. You have to have the appropriate arc and the appropriate angle when you enter that hoop to score. And they do this with ease. Like to not think that the level of computation that's going on to make all of that possible is astronomical. To me, it's just indicative of how ignorant the average person is.
I've got a TED talk that goes specifically into things like that, and where he basically talks about he's a movement chauvinist, and that the human mind is not used to think at all. It's used to just contemplate and calculate movement, like you're talking about. He goes into examples of Emily, some young high school girl who won the world's record in cup stacking. Where she literally just all you see is a blur, and there's this very specific pattern of you're supposed to unstack and restack a set of cups, and she's doing it in some school gymnasium somewhere. And he's like, we have no idea what's happening in her brain when she does that, and they'd like to find out. And then they make examples, like playing chess, for example. If you put Gary, what's his name, some big chess master, world-renowned famous guy, when he's not in jail, if you put him up against Deep Blue, he might win occasionally against Deep Blue. If you put Deep Blue against anybody in this audience, it's safe to say that Deep Blue will win every time. So they figured out the math. They figured out the algorithm, whatever you want to call it, for winning a chess game. But if you have a 5-year-old try to move the chess pieces on the board, that already known ambiguity or ability to move things like that, he does it with ease. But if you try to get a robot to do it, there's no contest. The 5-year-old's going to do it every time. Then he shows an animation, or not, but a video of this little blue robot arm picking up a water bottle, taking the cap off, and it's real slow, and it pours the water into a wine glass, and it tries to prevent sloshing. And he said, so you can do it. The programming all the different variables like you're talking about. But to get that robot arm to do anything else is another 3-year PhD program.
If you're talking about Kasparov, he actually beat Deep Blue. In one game, and
that's the point. Yeah.
Something that's very interesting about about Gary.
I'm a chess geek.
Yeah, but me and Chris both are chess geeks. One of the interesting factors that's come from I find very interesting in relation to chess masters specifically is they have discovered. Okay, so how there's the whole aspect of like, oh, we only left brain, right brain, right, and only one at a time. What they've actually discovered is that one of the end benefits of being a chess player and doing it in a high level is that, and for years at a time, it actually creates bridge connections between both sides of the brain.
Makes sense.
It actually enables both sides to be processing and basically active at the same problem at the same time. And basically be able to apply both your analytical and your creative side simultaneously. And I've thought about that a lot because I've been playing chess since I was 6. And when I think about it in like business, of the way I applied that and things, a lot of stuff came to me very rapidly, like both in the creative and the purely analytical side. I'm sure this applies to a lot of other folks too. I just using that as an example. Thought about that, about the whole aspect of chess and you think about that, like dramatic advantage that gives somebody. Like I'm literally being able to think about something creatively and analytically simultaneously. You only get one or like you're having to switch back and forth. And you just think about that in terms of like how much faster, better, more efficiently, and more dynamically you can come up with solutions if you're being able to do that simultaneously.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's all kinds of papers out there that kind of, take apart that whole left brain, right brain dichotomy thing, that everybody's brain's more or less the same, and you can condition it. And it is about the interconnectivity tissue like you're talking about. You can, and that's another thing about that proves design factors in life, particularly for human life, is that your brain is fluid, in that you can actually train your brain to do certain things like you're talking about earlier. You can have, a geek become a bodybuilder and vice versa. You can have a bodybuilder become a scientist. All it takes is just desire, the non-natural ability to want to do something different than the way you were originally starting from.
Yep, but you have to have the core capacity.
The cognition is all it is.
Yep.
You decide.
And then apply it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly wonder how much advancement has been blocked or deprecated as a result of convincing people that we're nothing but animals.
Yeah, I agree. It's the biggest travesty. Yeah.
I mean, to me, when you really think about how much that must have blocked creative thought, and just the potential discoveries, the advancements and paradigm shifts that have been missed out on or delayed.
And that's why I say
we may never know.
There's really no true atheists in science, because the atheist mentality is the antithesis to science and to scientific work. And that's what I'm saying, things like that. So there's all kinds of things that we non-atheists, if you want to call them, or anti-atheists, whatever, we do behind the scenes that are often actually, most of my work, if not, is behind non-disclosure agreements, things like I legally can't talk about. We can insinuate it, and if somebody like Elon, we had to wait for Elon to say something first, before the rest of us, before he violates his own NDA, then we can talk about it. But it's just there's so much out there. I talk about, so like another example. So one of the first coding program jobs that I did when I got my 3-dimensional programming AI degree finished, my first job was with the RDEcom for the military, a project that can't talk about it. But the best I can give an analogy that it was, the technology, it's I'm having to struggle with what can I say, but I try to make the analogy that it makes Oculus Rift, what we have, the latest in virtual reality, augmented reality stuff today, makes it look like it's an equivalent to the Atari 2600 was, 40 years ago. And it's out there. The technology's there. It's just the S curve. The technology price it will come down, and it will become commercially available. So there's things out there that are already mind blowing for those that work on it that the general public just has no clue about, because it's because people that are non-atheists are literally revolutionizing science and technology that most people have no clue about. So the atheists they make their fake polls at their fake religious institutes like the AAAS, and so people that's all they hear usually. So atheists dominate science, when the truth is it's the furthest from the truth. Sorry.
The talking heads may be atheists. The people actually doing stuff. different paradigm.
Well, like someone was saying in text earlier, all the leading whatever the managers, the people that are actually doing a lot of the projects are not atheists. But I just don't see it. When you get into the actual fields of science and you actually talk to people that are doing the work outside of academia, they're not atheists.
No, that's what I'm talking about. When I was saying talking heads, I meant the ones in academia. Well, and that's part of the. It's honestly why I get such entertainment out of the atheist talking point of peer reviewed.
Yeah,
and I'm like, so you
don't get me started.
The people that you're referring to that are like out doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but most of them are not taking much time to do much peer-reviewed stuff.
Exactly. No, it's the exact opposite. We're always trying to outcompete each other. The only time Yeah, I like to just to kind of cut to that chase. Peer review is exactly what the ancient Vatican did. The science of Galileo. That's what peer review is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay.
He suffered from peer review process.
Yeah. Well, and to me, when you really think about that in the context of what is not being published out of fear of peer review.
Well, again, yeah, no, you're right.
All sorts of stuff.
We
Like,
do not care. We don't care. Peer
well,
review.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about you guys. I'm talking about the guys in academia.
Yeah.
They were afraid to challenge the status quo, or what if it's not accepted, or what if people don't believe me, or like, what if it
doesn't fit the dogma, right?
Right, and then so they don't publish, or they word it in a specific way to, even if they're putting out this new idea, they don't word it in such a way to directly challenge the conventional paradigm.
We watched Ben Stein's movie, right? Was it called Expelled?
Oh yeah,
he proved exactly that. There were people who were not Christians that were still atheists that did exactly what you said. They said, "Well, there's an interesting idea. Just talk about it," and they're fired for just daring to promote something that didn't fit the paradigm. They didn't believe it. They didn't agree with it. They were just trying to talk about it, and that was enough to ruin their career. Yep. It's horrible.
Yeah, things get weird.
It's a religion. It's a church. That's what the Vatican used to do. If you didn't toe the Vatican line, it wasn't a biblical thing. The Vatican back then, I'll even just be so bold to say the Vatican was run by atheists back then. You don't, to kill somebody for any reason, that's antichrist. They were doing a lot of things that were just anti-biblical. But that's how they kept their authority, was that if anybody dared say anything against it, you were silenced or removed or worse. That's what's happening today. The atheists today are the old Vatican. The atheists today are the new Vatican. There we go.
Yep. No, I definitely agree with that. I joke about their ivory towers. It's and of course the irony for that, in my opinion, is with the explosion of the internet, the conventional ivory towers of academia are collapsing, and the irony is that the academics in those towers are doubling down.
Yeah,
as their conventional institutions are collapsing in terms of value proposition.
Their churches, yeah.
I mean, because the value proposition of college is just collapsing. In spite of the propaganda, it is collapsing. And anybody that says otherwise is an idiot. And I mean this in terms of the not necessarily I'm talking about for the average Joe, for the average person, right? The return is dropping. Now, if you need hyper specific qualifications for your profession and such, obviously slightly different paradigm. But for the average person, like, what is the value prop?
Well, not even that.
Crazy debt, and your return on investment is crap.
Well, I think you've heard me before. So leading, technology producers, they flat said it now that college is worthless. They don't care about college anymore. They don't care about your pedigree. They only care about your ability to do the work, your merit. If you can show that you've got experience and you know how to do these things, you understand them, your college, it doesn't matter if you've got a college degree or not.
Yep. Well, I mean, heck, in tech, I mean, especially on the dev side, dev and design side, it's all. Let me see your portfolio. I mean,
oh yeah.
Because they ask you a real life example of something that you've done, and you said was an example.
Yeah. But that was like the stupidest example.
It's just
My wife wanted me to share some of my SpaceX interview stories because that's what they do. They don't, you get your resume, they give you they start the hiring process. All they care about is your experience, what you can do, and they actually, what you've done. They have you write essays about your foremost, impactful things that you've done in your career, and then so I had three interviews, panel interviews and stuff like that. They're really grilling me hard. And one of my verbal panel interviews, they were just asking for just things, that I did. And I don't know why my wife brought up the one that I think is the most ridiculous one, but a pantyhose repair. Apparently, it impressed them well enough.
It wasn't. It was that, and the fact that it made them laugh too. Of course,
Yeah.
the psychological factor and successful interviews. However,
Yeah.
they want, basically my point with asking you to bring that up is just to show that these companies care about what you have done.
Right. Or like John was saying, the creative facet. It's one thing to have the knowledge, but then to be able to put it into creative use.
And creative
Yeah.
is exactly what you
the basic
did.
story
Even
was
though
I
it's small.
was active duty. I was in Germany. My friend that I'm still friends with on Facebook, that's really awesome. He knew I was a computer geek because we'd break into the HCC headquarters and get online and, you know, and late at night. And so he was wanting to meet German girls and stuff. He's like, oh, you know, hook me up on those dating websites. This is back in the 90s. So, you know, I helped him out, helped him create a profile, and, you know, and he's going out dating. And there's this one day he was real excited about, but his car broke down. And so we, again, it's late at night, and there's no automobile shops at all, you know, hardly in the area we were in. So another female soldier that we knew was out and about, and I asked her, you know, hey, do you have a pair of pantyhose you don't mind losing? And she donated her pantyhose, and I used it. It was basically his alternator belt had frayed and fell off literally. So I wrapped the pantyhose around the alternator pulleys, and it got his car to start. And, you know, it kept the battery going long enough for him to go on his date. You know, and it's just a real simple thing to me, but apparently that was impressive. By the way, he married that lady. They've got like 5 or 6 kids now. He's in Hawaii.
Wow.
So they probably might not have happened if we didn't come up with that. But, you know, all these things that I thought were impressive, you know, in my career, you know, the $18 million sulfuric acid recycler machine that I saved, you know, those things, that was what I thought were impressive. But the thing that they laugh at and they seem the most impressive was my pantyhose repair job.
Because they want MacGyver.
Is that what it is?
They want
for rocket science?
Yes.
All right.
On the fly.
Yeah.
Come up with solutions on the fly.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the thing, you know, you can talk about these big, giant, massive scale projects, you know, you can work on, and, you know, I was doing all this stuff for all these different big industries. And then, you know, I can also fix the little things in life, I guess. I don't know.
No, it's like you're creative about it. You came with a creative solution.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think that those of us who intuitively, it's not an uncommon, or it's a common occurrence for us to think of something on the fly, right? It's a quick solution that's creative and whatnot. If you do it instinctively, then you don't recognize. It's harder to recognize the significance of it, and how often there's so many people, especially now, that do not think that way at all. Like they only are responsive,
yes.
They're reactive, not proactive.
I call those button pushers.
Yep. And we take it for granted. I know so many people that take it for granted. It's just like they literally don't think. They do not think for themselves. Like they can think, but they're not going to actively try to figure out a solution to the problem. They're going to want to be told how to solve the problem.
Right. They want to go to. They're comfortable going to a job where they just literally push a button. Right.
Yep. And here, actually, it's very ironic though. There's actually a study that was done, and higher IQ people are extraordinarily bad at rote jobs.
Yes.
Like really bad. They suck at it. Like repetitive jobs. You stick an high IQ person in there, they're going to figure out a way to mess it up. Like the stupidly simple, like just do this over and over again. They will figure out a way to jack it up.
Yes, I can give you stories of that too.
Make it more efficient.
It's like I always, when I remember reading that, I was like, yeah, I've done that before. I understand that. Yep.
I think my worst was when I was a kid. Before I joined the military, I was doing some temp job somewhere in town, and it was supposed to be like a 2-week job as a temp replacement for somebody at some airplane gasket manufacturing company or whatever, where literally you sat at this giant hydraulic press, you put a aluminum sheet under it, and you pull this lever down, and it stamps out a bunch of gaskets, and the gaskets go one way and the rest over sheet parts go another way, and you're literally supposed to do that, make 10,000 of these gaskets like a day or whatever. And I couldn't do half that. And there's one point, I think like on my first or second day, I think it was my second day, I stay up all night, you know, playing games or whatever as still a kid. I laid my head down on the hydraulic handle press thing and just took a nap for lunch. And then they told me I should go home. So, I couldn't stand it.
Well, that is understandable. Well, everybody, it's getting late. I gotta go tonight. I appreciate it.
Get you some sleep in the next few, as much as you can too, John. You've been running on low sleep.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna work my ass off this
Your
week.
brain repairs while you sleep. You know that. Your body repairs while it sleeps.
I know.
You got to get into that deep sleep to get the growth hormone out. You know it. Get it.
True.
Yeah, there's some good research that dreams are your mind's way of literally categorizing not just past events, but information, things that you learn, the things you're trying to do. You know, it seems like a random, incoherent dream. Sometimes there's a function to it. There's a purpose.
Yeah, well, I think there's also some a portion of that is transfer from short-term to long-term memory too.
Okay,
is a component. There's multiple components, but I think it's one of the facets is storage transfer.
Well, the point Chris is correct. You need to get good rest to be able to.
Yes. I've been feeling some fatigue lately, but well, we appreciate it very much. Y'all have a great night.
All right, buddy. We'll be chatting with you,
and we'll keep the madness going. Appreciate it as always, and everybody. As you contemplate the arguments and the reasons and the positions they're taken and the things that you consider about your own existence, always make sure that your conclusions are logical, plausible, and probable. Have a great night, y'all.
Good night, y'all.
You too. And I agree, Kathy. That was brilliant.